I want to welcome everyone to the video for capitalizing interest. On this video, we're going to look at multiple years. We're going to take a year and 5 months to actually do this one. So the first thing we do, this is just like the first video, we find out what are interest rates. This is for the loan that was for very specific for the self-constructed assets. So that's 80,000. So the first million that we capitalize will be on that 8%. And then anything over the $1 million will be used at the general rate, which we find this out by finding the average capital that we have for the general rate. And home, just sum that up, is 530. And then get the general rate. We'll take the 530,000 divided by the 5 million. I guess 10.6. And the total capitalized interest is the 530 plus the 80, or 610. Okay, so our general rate is 10.6%, but we cannot capitalize more than $610,000 worth of interest. Okay, now the first year we had 500,000, and that is for 12/12ths of the year. Hit the wrong key there. So now we multiply those two together, and that gives us 500,000. Then we borrowed 400,000, and that was in March 31st. So that was for 9/12ths of the year. And we multiply these out. 400,000 times 0.34 is 300,000. And then we paid 600,000. We didn't borrow 600,000. And that was for 3/12ths of the year, because that was September 30th. So we multiply these out, and that's equal to 150,000. And then we have one here we also have to put in for 250,000, because we did borrow it at the end of the year, but that's for 0/12ths of the year, so that will be 0. I didn't bother multiplying that out. And then we add these up, so the amount we have to capitalize is 950,000. Okay, so you notice the 950,000 though is less than the million, so that entire 950,000 is capitalized at 8%. So we have equal 950,000 times 8%, or $76,000. So our journal entry for this is, I want to do the building. And that is for the 76,000. Now what this does to interest expense, it'll reduce it. So the total interest expense for the year is 610,000, but we need to reduce it by the 76,000. So that's 534,000. And then we're going to assume cash for the 610,000. And the reason why we assume cash is because it's for it's interest expense, so we're paying that. Okay, so we still have to pay the 76,000. It just goes into the building account. Okay, now what we come down here and we look at, okay, what have we done so far? Well, on 1/3/15, we put in 500,000. 3/31/15, we put in 400,000. 9/30/15, we put in 600,000. And 12/31, we put in 250,000. And on 12/31/15, we also put in 76,000. So what we have to do then is see what our total is. And we have equal 500,000 plus the 400,000 is 900,000. And we just drag it down. So we have 1,826,000. Okay, so that's where we start the next year at. That's why I did that. So up here, we put in 1,826,000. Now this is the partial year. We finished this up May 31st, so we had it for 5 months. So this is for 5 fifths. So we take 1826 times 1, or 5 over 5, and that gives me 1,826,000. And then we look up and we put in another 300,000. And that was in February 1st, I believe. Oh, January 31st, okay. So that was in there for 4/5 of the year, 4/5 of till we had done with it. So we multiply these out, 300,000 times 4/5. That gives me 240,000. And then we put in 200,000, and that was April 30th. So that was in there for 1 out of the 5 months. And we multiply these out, 200,000 times 1/5, that's 40,000. Total those up, and that gives us 2,106,000. Now, I left this over here. This is the first million, will be at 8%, so that's at 80,000. And then we used 1 million, so we still need 1,106,000, and that's at 10.6%. So that comes to 117,236. Okay, now this is for the partial year here. So this is that's for 5/12 because we finished May 31st. So that's 5/12 of the year for both of those, 5/12. And then we'll multiply these out, 80,000 times 5/12, and do the same thing there. And then add them up. And that gives us 82,181.67. Okay, so we have the building will be for the 82,182. That's close enough. And then interest expense will be for, again, we're assuming the 610,000 is still the same. Subtract off the 82,182. That gives us 527,818. And then cash is for the 610,000. So with that, we come down here then, and we look at on January 31st of 16, we put in an additional 300,000. April 30th of 16, we put in an additional 200,000. And also on May 31st of 16, we put an additional 82,182 in there. So then we add those up. So the value of our building will be for $2,408,182. That's the basis we will use for depreciation. Okay, so that is how you capitalize the interest. So you take it, what percent of the months do they have it out there, and then take it times what percent that you have it that you've used to complete the project. And like this case, we hit May 31st, so we had it 5 months out of the 12, so we take it times 5/12. And then this is the value we use for depreciation purposes. So I hope that helps, and that's multiple years.